Hey guys, hope you are all doing well today. So we have a matchup between the Lizardmen, as usual commanded by me, going up against the fearsome vampire counts. Now this battle is going to be the debut of the infamous Lizardmen army known as the KROAK Death Star on this channel. And so this is the first time I'm using this army. It's honestly one of the most satisfying builds I've ever seen. I don't remember who I stole it from, but I will link it in the description probably, if I can find them. And actually, I'm going to hold off on introducing this army. I'm going to save the best for last and go into the Vampire Counts army first. So Vampire Counts have a pretty standard anti-large army generally, and pretty good army to use against the dinos in normal circumstances. So for one, we have the Dire Pack, the Regiment of Renowned Direwolves, bringing some anti-large capabilities into the fight. We also have some Blood Knights who are armored and shielded in addition to their anti-large capabilities, which gives them some resistance to missile attacks. In the skies, we have one unit of Fellbats who, in this battle, the weakest unit of the Lizardmen are going to be the Temple Guards, and so if the Fellbats land in anywhere, they are going to take a ton of damage and really won't be doing too much damage themselves. As you can see, weak against armor, and really all the Lizardmen units in this case are heavily armored. The Terrorgeist is probably a much better pick in this case, since the only ranged of the Lizardmen is going to be the Ancient Stegodon, the red-crested skink chief. And so, even though he does have a ton of missile strength, he has 611 missile strength, by himself he will not be able to take down a Terrorgeist with over 5,600 HP, and so he can pretty much fly over the entire Lizardmen army and land anywhere he wants and cause a ton of terror among the Lizardmen. We have one unit of zombies who are going to be the standard chaff. We have 2 units of Grave Guards, and these guys are actually going to put up a very good fight against the Temple Guards. In an extended one-on-one fight, I doubt they would win, but they would keep them occupied for the majority of the battle, so not a fight that really either unit wants to go into. The rest of the army is going to be made up of skeleton spearmen, just more chaff, but they do have some elements of anti-large, assuming they don't get scared off by the dinos. For the Lord, we have Manfred von Karstein mainly coming in with the Fate of Bajuna, which is going to do a ton of damage to a single unit if he manages to use it well, I guess. We have a Necromancer who is going to be providing healing for the Vampire Counts, so that is going to help them sustain melee for a long time. In an attrition style fight, which the Vampire Counts aim to win at, he is going to be so important. We also have a White King who's going to be a melee specialist anti-infantry, going to be doing a ton of damage to any Temple Guards he goes up against, and even if he goes up against the red-crested skink chief who is upon his Ancient Stegodon, he will still do a ton of damage. We have one unit of the Corpse Cart who's going to be providing additional healing for the Vampire Counts. So really a great attrition style army for the Vampire Counts, and they definitely very standard for this kind of matchup. But the Lizardmen have the KROAK Death Star. So 4 Temple Guards round out the edges, completely protecting every flank. And their job is going to be to try and protect Lord KROAK first of all, but also to group up the Vampire Counts infantry as much as possible so that we can use Lord KROAK spells to their maximum effectiveness. So with their 85 armor, their 38 melee defense, they are definitely going to be able to hold out in melee for a long time and group up the Vampire Counts infantry as we need. Our Lord is going to be the red-crested skink chief, which is going to be upon his Ancient Stegodon. So he does come with 611 missile strength, which is very powerful, but again, against a Terrorgeist, will not be able to take him down alone. So still a great pick because the Ancient Stegodon does have a ton of armor, a ton of melee attack and defense, so still a great pick for melee fighting, but in an air-to-air fight, really the Lizardmen are very lacking. We also have a Feral Carnosaur bringing some anti-large capabilities to the Lizardmen in case the Vampire Counts decide to go with a Vargulf or, in this case, a Terrorgeist. So he'll just be trailing the Terrorgeist, trying to shut it down whenever it lands. And then the venerable Lord KROAK himself coming in with his 3 Deliverances of Itzas, as you can see here. They are going to be explosion spells that cause a ton of damage to enemy infantry. They're basically the atomic bombs of Warhammer 2, is how I'd describe them. Really, I'm not going to describe them too much, really, because I would rather show them. They're just so satisfying to watch, but those Deliverances of Itza, they do so much damage, man. Yeah. So that's going to be the main aspect of this army that the Lizardmen are going to be relying upon. And we also have 1 unit of Star Chambered Guardians in the middle, just to provide any extra protection, and also group up the infantry if they are required. And so, with that, both the armies are introduced, and let's get into the battle. So the Lizardmen do start off with favorable terrain. I decide to take the hill right off the bat, and just stand up there and wait for the Vampire Counts to charge up to me. And so that will actually... because they're going to be charging up a hill, they're probably going to be running, I think. Yeah, moving fast. So they're going to be running as well. So they'll probably be a bit tired by the time they reach the Lizardmen's, which is a pretty decent advantage for the dinos. And now we have the Red Crested Skink Chief going to fire at some Fellbats. With 611 missile strength, he will definitely be doing a ton of damage to these guys. And even though he's trying to dodge missiles from the Ancient Stegodon, they are still taking quite a bit of HP damage. They're losing some bats, as you can see. Some are laying across the floor. And their leadership is falling by the second. So not a fight that the Fellbats want to be in. Because even though the Ancient Stegodon is the only ranged unit of the Lizardmen, really, he can still definitely do a beating to weak units like the Fellbats. And so let's wait for the armies to approach each other. At this point, are the Vampire Counts tired at all yet? Not yet, but I believe they do take some hits because of the fact that they're running from all the way down here up a hill to my army. So I believe there are some unfortunate hits for the Vampire Counts. And now the Fate of Bajuna is going down on the Star Chambered Guardians. And now they're going to be losing a ton of HP. Great value spell from Manfred von Karstein. And I do charge a Carnosaur into him, which does a tiny bit of damage. But again, with all the healing of the Vampire Counts, really that one hit is going to be completely nullified. And so great value trade for the Vampire Counts. And now let's quickly speed it up as the armies approach each other again. And it seems like the Vampire Counts are actually going for a flank. They're attempting to hit from the side and from behind and get to Lord KROAK and shut down his Deliverances of Itzas before they go down. The frontline engagements have started to charge towards each other, and so far so good for the Lizardmen. They're generally grouping up the infantry. The Graveguard and the Skeleton Spearmen are grouped up against 2 Temple Guards, another unit of Graveguard going up against another unit of Temple Guard, and some Fellbats charge into Lord KROAK, but he, with his 5000 HP, is going to be very tough to kill, and the Carnosaur is aiding him as well, so the Fellbats get killed almost instantly. Lord KROAK is now free, and there goes the first and the biggest deliverance of Itza of the battle. Let's see how much damage this thing will do. Look at that, completely destroys a unit of Graveguard, who were supposed to be putting up a great fight against Star Chambered Guardians. Now they've been completely obliterated, and a great value spell to start off the battle. In the back we have some Dire Packs who are trying to charge and shut down Lord KROAK, but they were intercepted by some Temple Guards and the Carnosaur, who's now going to be charged actually by some Blood Knights and a Terrorgeist, so he is not in a good fight anymore. Even though he is anti-large and he could probably take either of these units alone, the fact that he's surrounded by 3 anti-large units means he's going to be completely and utterly obliterated. We do have Supreme Shield of the old ones popped, so that 44% damage resistance is going to help the Carnosaur live a bit longer, but again, not a fight that he wants to be in, and he is trying to run away, but really the Blood Knights are not letting him. He is in a losing fight with some elite anti-large units of the Vampire Coast. But along the front lines, really, the Temple Guards are holding out relatively well. It seems like we had to charge our Red Crested Skin Chief into battle with Manfred von Karstein, and a second deliverance of Itza will be going down on this mass of troops. Let's see how much damage this thing does. So much damage, completely obliterates some skeleton spearmen, a ton of damage to this corpse cart, and Manfred von Karstein took some hits as well. So great value deliverances of Itza so far. And now it seems Lord KROAK is surrounded by some zombies, again with 5,000 or 4,600 HP right now. He's going to be so tough to kill, and some Temple Guards are coming in to help him out. And the Feral Carnosaur is still fighting somehow, surrounded by Blood Knights and the Terrorgeist. He is doing quite a bit of damage to the Blood Knights, but the Terrorgeist is still almost at full HP, and if this Carnosaur dies, there's really no anti-large unit left to shut down the Terrorgeist, and he will have free reign on whoever he chooses to fight. Seems like a zombie spawn is going in on these Temple Guards, who are already really low on HP, so they will probably die almost, well, pretty quickly. Lord KROAK's still sitting at 4,300 HP, and so he will be able to give a few more deliverances of Itzas before he is shut down. The Red Crested Skin Chief in melee with Manfred von Karstein himself, actually, and upon his Ancient Stegodon, the Red Crested Skin Chief will win that fight pretty decisively, but he was charged now by the White King, who is a much better fight for the Red Crested Skin Chief, and he'll actually be losing that fight. That is not a fight he wants to be in, because the White King is a melee specialist, and he is going to be doing a ton of damage to the Red Crested Skin Chief. Lord KROAK attempts to come in and help, but with only 26 melee attack, really not going to be doing much. Some Blood Knights also going to be charging into the back of the Red Crested Skin Chief, and he is no longer in a good situation. Even though he started off with over 7,000 HP, he is losing HP by the second, and he's only at 3,000 right now. So a Supreme Shield of the Old Ones pops to attempt to save him, but really surrounded by all these elite anti-large units and the White King. Not the best fight for the Red Crested Skin Chief, and so once this shield dies off, he will probably be routed from the battle. We do have some Temple Guard coming in to assist in that fight and do some damage to the Terrorgeist. Lord KROAK is also attempting to do whatever he can in with 26 melee attack, again not very high, but he's doing damage wherever he can, and the Red Crested Skin Chief is in a terrible position, only 1200 HP left. He is now broken and routing from the battle. But will he even get off the battlefield? It looks like he's going to be completely killed before he escapes. Yeah, he's going to be completely destroyed. The Ancient Stegodon has fallen, and the Lizardmen have actually taken a pretty large leadership hit. And now it's looking rather favorable for the Vampire Counts, though the balance of power is relatively equal, and Temple Guard do have very high leadership, so the fight is relatively stable. The problem is Lord KROAK is fighting some Blood Knights, and even though he's tanked 2,700 HP, not really a fight that he wants to be in, and looks like the Terrorgeist is also coming in to fight him, so again, not the most favorable fight for him. He doesn't have much melee attacks, so he will have to leave that battle as quickly as possible, and I believe these Temple Guards come in to help him out. And at this point, it's just all Temple Guards fighting the heroes, monsters, and lords of the Vampire Counts. Who's left, actually? I believe, yeah, we still have one Carnosaur, but he's too weak to really do anything, and a complete surround of the Vampire Counts has ensued, but the Terrorgeist does cause terror, as implied by the name, and so if he does manage to inflict terror on the Temple Guards, the Vampire Counts have basically won the game, because there's really nothing else that can cause damage. And now, the fight for the fight of all fights is on, and the final deliverance of Itza is going down. Will this put the final nail in the coffin for the Vampire Counts? And there it goes, completely destroys the leadership of the White King and Manfred von Karstein. They fall to the ground, absorbed into their tombstones, and a final shield of the Old Ones is popped to finally kill off the remaining vampire counts. So there it is, the KROAK Death Star. Really one of the most satisfying Lizardmen builds I've ever used, and I would really recommend any of the viewers watching this to try it out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.